dare tell me where she was going. Right? When she saw those tattoos, she didn't even say a word. She said, later, Dee Dee. Oh, Vera.
Well, I had a turtle, but the maid opened the door and cleaned the room and it walked out. Oh my God. In Chelsea. It was like about 2 months ago. It's my pet. I just had it for a while. And what was it? Sparky. Sparky. It was trained too. And I put a blue light, and when I put it on, the blue lamp in the room and turned it dark, I could race around the room, you know?
You know, like Johnny Thunders was like really demanding. I remember Richard and I had went to cop, and we didn't know John was coming over. I think he was just waiting there or something, right? Had nothing to do with any of our plans that day. And Richard and I had a hard, I guess what would have been considered a hard time, but I don't know, it didn't faze us. We were coming out of a hallway, and this like lunatic burst in there, threw a karate kick, and held a knife up. And I said, man, that's no way to do it. I mean, you know, kick a guy with sneakers, come on, you know, the skinny little guy. We just pushed him out of the way and walked out the door, but somehow I got caught, you know. I just held myself, and we walked and got high. And that was it. Later on, the Heartbreakers played, and I think Richard said the song is like dedicated to Dee Dee, Chinese Rocks, because he got cut today. And that was it, you know. It was no big deal. It was just part of life then. But we go upstairs, and we were obviously a bit drained, you know. We didn't want to go back down there. And John was there, and he was like complaining. He said, oh, get us some dope, get us some more dope. And I said, no, 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 no. And he wouldn't like take the hint. I said, go get it yourself, you know. And he said, no, you know, he was like demanding it, like he had like seniority in the clique there or something. You know, he was the top guy, and I wasn't going for that then because I was like Dee Dee Ramone now. You know, I said, this is like really rude of this guy, you know? Treat me like this, order me to go get the dope. I'll get it if I want to, and if I don't, I won't. So finally I was like drained, and I said, John, why the hell would I go get some dope for you right now? You know? And he said, well, so you have the privilege of hanging out with a rock star, you know? So yeah, I think that's why I left him turning blue in a bathtub once, you know, just, you know, I put him in there. I think I might have forgot, I don't know. There's all these bathtub stories, you know. I think that's something like one of his songs. This is like Too Tough to Die. I put that on there when I really wanted to live. That is his song. I can't put you on my memory. Well, you know, I hope everybody remembers him. But John, I would just avoid him from then on. But he did come over to an apartment I had on 10th Street where I was living with my girlfriend. And, you know, like, she turned blue too. So I just threw her in the bathtub, and I forgot about her, you know? And so we all got high, and I think all the girls really were hoping they could go out with Johnny Thunders. He was like the one they wanted, and probably her too. I got the message clear, because when all of a sudden she just like stood up out of the bathtub, her hair all like wet and, you know, frantic looking, and she said, what happened? Why did you put me in here? And all? And I said, I don't know. I said, I forgot you were in here even. And she said, well, who was here, you know? And I said, oh, Jerry and John. She said, Johnny Thunders? And I said, yeah, you know. And then she said, well, how could you put me in the bathtub when he was here? I said, oh, man, I'm leaving. I'm going to cop some dope. And that was like my life. And even though I had been doing the dope for like a long, I hate to say how young I started, I didn't realize I was addicted till around that period. And Joey and I were living in a loft on 62nd Street, right by CBGB's. I remember it was freezing and all. I made Joey move in there, and then I stole his TV. And he just sat there, you know, fucking Dee Dee, you know. And I didn't, you know, admit to it. I told him I had gotten it repaired. But I just didn't get enough money for that TV like I thought I would. And I only could get a bag of dope, it was 2 bags. I don't even care what I got, I just want to get something that day. And I started getting sick. And then I said, well, you know, I'm going to kick, you know. But of course, like, you know, 30 hours later, my girlfriend came by and said, Dee Dee, you need some dope. I said, I know, okay, you know. And that was like why I think none of us had a chance, That's Baby Doll. That was Vera. And this one I had done different. Like, I just had the letters like it would have been carved on a school desk. But then later Vera said, why don't you have it made pretty? So I did that for her. And I don't know.
No, they only give Yeah, the only solution we have is the 50.
Let me just check the gate while I'm here.
Yeah.
Like I said, like it was party, and party on stage, party off stage. And, a typical, like, Heartbreakers show definitely didn't revolve around a sound check and a set list. It involved in, like, going to Cop in the afternoon and setting it up so when you got paid after the show, you had to deal it in. You could get high all night if you were lucky, I had it rough because I was, like, kind of being monitored and stood up to. So I definitely want to go to a Heartbreakers gig to party, I could really party then. And like a typical one would be at Max's, and all hell would have broken loose during the afternoon. You sell a guitar, sell a TV, steal your girlfriend's, anything, and get the dope and take an advance from the club owner. So you probably broke anyway after you got through playing to pay for all the dope. Like if you play like at Max's, go see the Heartbreakers there, one good thing is we all drank. So like the Tommy Dean was always good for a case of champagne, probably per person, And that you could entice people up there and get them drunk and then take their dope when they were passed out and take it out of their pocket. And that, that was like one of the techniques, beating people. I'd go get John a few bags of dope, and of course I'd take a little out and put it back together, put some oatmeal in there. Well, it was the Chinese rocks, it was the brown dope. And, that's how it got the name, Chinese rocks, because it was brown and it was supposed to come from Mexico, which it didn't. Really, it was a cover-up, a diversion technique. It was still coming from the Orient. And so, the word Chinese rocks kind of became famous. Even though there was like all the different names for the dope, it was all called brand names for it. It was all like referred to as Chinese rocks. And it came in like a nice, like red tinfoil, very sophisticated wrapper. And on Christmas, it came in Christmas wrapping paper and things like that, for the holiday, a little special treat. Mr. Brady.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Where's the bathroom here?
The bathroom is right there, Dee Dee. Men's room right there. There's a dressing room for you right there. Private dressing room.
Come in there. This is my dragon. I'm very identified with dragons, like being playful, and
Is there a lot of film in the camera?
The what?
Could I go on for a while?
Beyond the Chinese rock story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I just...
But really think about
This is Maddie shot.
Yeah.
I am. All right. Yeah, I think I could, maybe. We'll have to see how it goes.
Again, make that a quick story. The Chinese rock story is really important.
No, I think there's a lot in his heroin hysteria.
Okay. All right, you guys ready?
But to write Chinese rocks, I got the idea from Richard Hell. Richard, like, was, I guess, still, like, thinking about music a little. For me, when I wrote, I don't know how I wrote, what made me write, We were very competitive. I was very jealous of him because he had that haircut and I'd have the bowl haircut. And, I think the English groups were coming out with Richard's look and it was really looking cool and I was stuck, So we were competitive. Maybe it was like a silent type of secretive competition, but it was definitely there. And we were hostile to each other, but once in a while we'd talk. And one day Richard said to me, I want to write a song better than Lou Reed's Heroin. So I said, I just went home and wrote Chinese rocks. And I don't remember, oh yeah, I did play it for Johnny Ramone. He said, no way, we're not doing that song, it's about dope. I said, John, we sing about everything else. you know, you sing about sniffing glue, and he said, well, we don't sniff glue anymore. I said, well, how do you know? You know, I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what I'm doing. You know, we don't hang out. And he said, well, look, we're not doing the song. It sounds like Commando or something. And I didn't know it did. So Jerry, by then I think Debbie had thrown me out of her apartment because I had like pissed in the hallway because I was drunk and couldn't find my keys. And then my girlfriend was very dysfunctional and came up the stairs and was yelling at me. And there was a big commotion and someone ran out of the apartment. And I think she hit him or something, you know. She probably had a horseshoe in her purse. I don't know what, you know. She always had some weapon on her, you know. I got this couple scars to prove it. And, you know, so I had to move out of that apartment after that one night. And I was back on 10th Street with that other girl that had, that I think Johnny Thunders pushed her in the bathtub. I don't remember. It was her fault and his fault, not mine. And I was living there, you know, and Jerry came over there to cop, you know, with me. And it was real convenient because it was right on 10th Street where we used to go. And I started playing him the song, you know, and he liked it. And that was the last I heard of it until I think they started doing it. I think the way it changed was like, from what I can remember, it's like Richard wrote, it should have been rich. I'm just digging a Chinese ditch. That's it, you know.
This one's called Chinese Rock. 1, 2, 3. Somebody call me on the phone. Hey, is Dee Dee home? Do you want to take a walk? Do you want to go and cop? Do you want to go suck some Chinese cock? I'm living on a Chinese rock. All my best things are in hot. I'm living on a Chinese rock. Everything is in the box of it.
And this one, Valerie Myers did on me. She's like an artist. She lives in the Chelsea Hotel. And she did it before I was going to rehearsal once. And she was taking a long time. Everybody got upset. But I was very flattered that she would do it. She's very like an ancient soul. And she did her tattoos on her eyes and all over her. And they're like probably some kind of weird thing. Knowing Val, you know, they must mean something. Well, about Chinese rocks now. So because of that song, a lot of aggravation and hatred started. I started like really getting aggravated with Thunders later about it though. At first I was like flattered that they did the song, and I did give it to them and I wanted them to do it. But when it came out on that record, it said Jerry Nolan and Richard Hell and Johnny Thunders and Dee Dee Ramone. I said, wait a minute. And it still didn't bother me because I didn't really know any better, but Johnny Ramone got on my case about it and said, how did you let this happen? I said, what are you talking about? I said, you told me you didn't want the song, that it was like disgusting to sing about smack. And I said, I know it is, and I agree with you. And I said, that's why we're not doing it. And I said, who cares who does it? But of course, you know, I was just faking it. You know, after he said that, I said, oh man, you know, this is like a jip, because it had nothing to do with money. It was like prestige. You know, it kind of like became prestige to do that song. The Ramones never felt it. You know, when they recorded it with Phil Spector, and it came. Well, actually, I don't even know what happened on that album, because I went to the studio one day and they said, well, John, you know, John's just stepped out for a minute. I got a call, or someone got a call like 10 minutes later, and John said, I'm going to the airport now. I'll see you guys. So like Mark and I sat there in a daze, and then like 2 hours later, we snuck away too, and we went back to New York, and somehow the song was on the record later. But when it came out in England, you know, I was happy about it, you know. I had no concept of royalties or anything, and I think I was the only lucky one who got mine anyway. The other guys had a hard way to go. And but later on, that Johnny Thunders autobiography came out, and he said in there, instead of saying anything about me writing it, like, he said everybody in New York said they would phase us. We were coming out of a hallway, and this like lunatic burst in there, threw a karate kick, and held a knife up. And I said, man, that's no way to do it. I mean, you know, kick a guy with sneakers, come on, you know, the skinny little guy. We just pushed him out of the way and walked out the door, but somehow I got cuffed, you know. I just held myself, and we walked in and got high. And that was it. Later on, the Heartbreakers played, and I think Richard said the song is like dedicated to Dee Dee, Chinese Rocks, because he got cut today. And that was it, you know. It was no big deal. It was just part of life then. But we go upstairs, and we were obviously a bit drained, you know. We didn't want to go back down there. And John was there, and he was like complaining. He said, oh, get us some dope, get us some more dope. And I said, no, 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 no. And he wouldn't like take the hint. I said, go get it yourself, you know. And he said, no, you know, he was like demanding it, like he had like seniority in the clique there or something. You know, he was the top guy, and I wasn't going for that then because I was like Dee Dee Ramone now. You know, I said, this is like really rude of this guy, you know? Treat me like this, order me to go get the dope. I'll get it if I want to, and if I don't, I won't. So finally I was like drained. They didn't tell me where she was going. Right? When she saw those tattoos, she didn't even say a word. She said, later, Dee Dee. Oh, Vera.
Well, I had a turtle, but the maid opened the door and cleaned the room and it walked out. Oh my God. In Chelsea. It was like about 2 months ago. It's my pet. I had it for a while. And what was it? Sparky. It was trained too. And I put a blue light, and when I put it on, the blue lamp in the room and turned it dark, I could race around the room, you know?
You know, like Johnny Thunders was like really demanding. I remember Richard and I had went to cop, and we didn't know John was coming over. I think he was just waiting there or something, right? Had nothing to do with any of our plans that day. And Richard and I had had a hard, I guess what would have been considered a hard time, but I don't know, it didn't